Tom and Amy used 20-foot lengths for their outer dome and 16.5-foot lengths for their inner dome. Attach the rebar for both the inner and outer domes with baling wire to prongs on opposing sides of the bond beam. After all the rebar is secured to the bond beam, spread a gap in the center of the birdcage and slide the ventilation pipe up through the middle. Tom and Amy install a 5-foot-long 12-inch stovepipe, although other hut builders have plans to use oil drums or skylights for ventilation. The rebar does temporarily hold the stovepipe in place, but we duct tape it to make certain that it won't move before plastering it in. Bridge the gaps between the rebar and the bottom dome with chicken wire or metal lath. Metal lath is more expensive, but it holds its shape better. If you do use chicken wire, tying on cross sections of 3/8-inch rebar helps to prevent sagging. Next, dip rags into a slurry of concrete and use them like paper mache to cover the lower dome. After this first layer dries, you are left with a solid surface upon which to plaster. Apply at least 3 coats of regular concrete plaster, allowing each layer to dry thoroughly. By the way, here's a reason why Tom and Amy chose to live out here. To help protect against condensation, tape on a layer of 6mm plastic as a vapor barrier under the insulation. Now wire the upper dome the same way as you did the lower one, leaving a portal so that you can stuff the insulation in between the domes. Because most of the insulation lies between the domes, it's a good idea to beef up the insulation surrounding the bond beam by screwing gray board onto the exterior of the can wall and lining the interior with a strip of batt insulation. Once the insulation is in place, cover the portal and wire in the rain gutter. Form the rain gutter by doubling over metal lath, nailing it to the bond beam with concrete nails, and sewing the ends to each other with baling wire. Remember to build up the back side of your gutter so that the water will flow easily to the spout. Now it is time to plaster right over the dome and down through the gutter. Tom and Amy apply 6 coats of plaster, and they let each coat dry thoroughly before adding the next one. One more note about your hut. You probably should stabilize the cliff wall outside the door with plaster.
There are all the techniques for building the hut. I mean, that's really all there is to it. Ultimately, your backhoe wants to dig a pit in front of you that is nearly the same size as your hut, so that, and it wants to be a little lower than your floor level of your hut, and it even wants to have a little pit in front of it, so that if you get a torrential rain, you don't have water going in your hut.
The backhoe finally came! Well, actually it was a front loader, but of course by this point the hut was already dug out. However, Tom and Amy still needed to have the courtyard excavated and the hut partially back-buried.
Here's the basic structure for the hut. We're going to do some cosmetic work on it, add a sliding glass door and shape the dome and put in a cement floor, but here's your basic structure.
During the time that various layers of plaster were drying, and also over the next several weeks, Tom and Amy took the time to make the hut feel more like home.
Okay, we got these tiles freed from a neighbor, and which is really nice, and we put them onto the mud wall, kind of grouted around them. They're to protect the mud wall, because the mud walls are really susceptible to brooms or foot marks knocking chunks of it off, so it's kind of a protector, and it also looks nice. And then this is our flagstone floor. We got scrap pieces from the recycling pit here at the Greater World, and so this is just all free scrap, and we just sunk it in with cement and grouted all around, and have this crazy Flintstones mosaic kind of floor. This is our loft, our crazy design with no experience. We used big strong braces and big chunks of wood, and we tried to make the sturdiest loft we could. Well, now we're up in the loft, and this is our dome ceiling, and we wanted to know what the best material was to do the ceiling, and it came to us, someone suggested this stuff called Structolite, which you mix it in with water, and it's gypsum plaster, and it kind of fluffs up like Cool Whip or Miracle Green, and you just you spread it on. It's really light and it doesn't fall down on you very much, so it worked pretty nice for us. This is our fancy plug that our cameraman here director, Lee Abbott, constructed. This is insulation cut in a circle and some rubber put on the outside and a piece of plywood with a handle. And this is just, if it gets really cold in here, we'll just stuff this plug up this pipe here, and it'll just really keep us a little bit warmer. To make this glass bottle kind of wall thing, we took this table saw and a masonry blade, and we took the bottles and we cut them in half. Then you tape them together with duct tape. Then we got a piece of rigid insulation and fitted in the little slot above the door and cut holes and shoved the bottles through. And then we have that, and we caulked all around it, all around the bottles. Then we plastered with cement. And that's what we got right there, an insulated little bottle window.
If the weather permits, it's a good idea to install the door last, giving the interior finishes a chance to dry better, and it's easier to get in and out of your workspace.
You need to make a vapor barrier for your earthship, and so you got to take 6mm plastic and double it, and then have it slope from the top of your house all the way down to the ground. And you want to pile about 2 feet of dirt on top of the plastic. Then we painted it with this rubberized paint called AquaShield that they recommend to use here, and it really seals in the whole dome. And we built the gutter to bring the water all the way down to our funnel here and into the cistern.
If you got all your ducks in a row on this, like all your tires, all your rebar, your cement, your wheelbarrow, your cans, spent a week orchestrating like that and knew what you were doing, you're going through it the first time, and of course got your backhoe driver lined up a month ahead of time. But if you spent a week getting your ducks in a row, you could throw this thing up with 4 people in a week, easily.
Well, it actually took Tom and Amy about 2 weeks to get enclosed, and that's even including rain delays and time spent digging when the backhoe didn't show. But the total time it took to finish everything was about 2 months.
Yeah, the hut's like the perfect classroom because it teaches you all the little things you need, every step-by-step thing you need to know about earthship building other than the system. So it's like a great beginning course. You know, if you can get through and build a hut, I think you're going to be a lot more successful building a bigger house. Another nice thing would be to have a really good list of all the equipment you need because we were constantly going back and forth to the hardware store.
And now, here's that list.
Amy would just spend the mornings reading the Michael Reynolds books, and it would tell her how to do the flagstone or how to do the mud plastering and all the little detailed things. It was all in the book, so every morning we just review the book and then go do it.
Here's
a new
the
house.
hut.
So many people they just give away their life for a $200,000 mortgage to have a home, and it's just not a healthy way to live. They get in there and they quit paying rent and they're warm. I mean, that's big right there.
And it's a structure that'll probably last beyond man. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Forever, it will. And so then you get in that, and then you just do it again as many times as you feel like you want to. And that's what we've been trying to do with the earthship all along. This just happens to be the most simple application we've come up with, is to teach people to build one module and then let them build as big a building as they want.
You're also saying that you could have a community where everyone builds their own little hut, you know, and feel satisfied with that, and then have the communal center with the showers and the kitchen and everything.
That would really be cool, to have the expensive parts be in 1 or 2 big domes, huts, and then everybody's just got their little shelter hut, and they share that. Then you're really talking people having You know, you can do one 15 or 20 feet in diameter and have a couple people in it, but they still all share a really nice common shower, kitchen facility, and then you're getting living down to real minimal, but also real comfortable and real substantial. That's a safe way to think. It's a logical way to think. I take logic to be actually a little more serious than even environmental green thinking, because people tend to get sort of moralistic on that, and what we're really talking about here is logic. I mean, if we don't do stuff like this, we're not going to be around, and that's better than a moral issue for convincing people that it might make sense to look in this direction. I mean, right now, living in a regular home, to acquire it is stressful, to maintain it is stressful, to pay the bills is stressful on the people and the planet. And we're trying to explore systems and methods to change that.
Hey, Dusting.